Hey guys, welcome back to video tutorial number 3 of the KV5TT build.
We're here in bag B. We're in block 9 on page 11.
Alright, now we're into block number 9. We've got everything deconstructed. Where do we start, Mr. Randy?
Alright, I think a good place to start is, let's grab an axle. We've got 2 of them. We're going to be installing the front axle assembly. So we're going to take an axle. We're going to grab one of these uni hub pins. And let's grab an axle cup. And I think the last piece is let's grab a pin. And basically what we're trying to do here is we're going to mate these together. We're going to take this barrel pin and we're going to line it up so that the hole is facing top. We're going to set this inside here, and what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get that pin while everything is aligned down in there and made it flush. There you go.
Let's flush on both sides here. And we just leave it here?
That's it.
Cool.
Go ahead and do that again on this side.
See this, slide it through here. Make sure it's lined up. And I'm going to put it into the cup. Make sure that's lined up here. And then slide this one down here. And we're good.
All right, in this next step, we're going to actually have to press these pins in. What we're going to use is we're going to use a ball peen hammer, and we're going to use a socket, because we want a really tight fit on these pins, and then we're going to secure them down with our set screws. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to put the socket there. We're going to line that up, and what we want to make sure that we do is there's a concave inside this pin, and what that needs to do is that needs to be facing outwards towards the set screw, because the set screw will mate inside this pin and not allow it to back off. So we'll go ahead and line that up. We're going to take our trusty hammer and we're going to just gently tap it in. It'll go in there. It'll slide down. And what you want to do is once it starts getting in there, you're going to want to check it. You see how it's a little uneven? We want to get it even, so we're going to go a little bit more. A little bit more. How's that look? Pretty even?
Mm-hmm.
All right, now we're going to want to secure the pin in place. We're going to go ahead and use our primer and our red Loctite and secure the set screw.
Okay, now we got our primer and our thread lock on. We're going to go ahead and try to slide this in here and go ahead and screw it down.
You want to really get some torque on this set screw.
To get proper torque on this set screw back here, we're going to go ahead and take our 4mm, slide it through this end of it, and then go ahead and keep tightening it down while leveraging this side.
That's good. One to go. There you are. You're going to be Thor with your hammer. You want to make sure is the notch pointed outward?
The notch is indeed.
Gotcha.
Woo! Man, I must be strong.
My man, perfect swing. There you go, set you up.
So it's locked tight and then primed, and we're still going to go ahead and screw this in. And once we get it in, we're going to go ahead and do the same leverage thing to make sure we have the right torque. So here we go, go ahead and get our 4.0mm.
Don't be afraid to tighten this thing as much as you want. You really want it to be tight. You really want to put a good amount of torque on this screw.
Never go wrong with the set screw. Alright, there we go, and that's the end of block number 9. We're going to go ahead and move on to 10.
Here we are on block 10.
Spindles, bearings, kingpin nuts, where do we start?
Let's try a spindle. Let's
Okay.
go with left.
So these are marked left and right on each one. Is there a certain orientation you want to go about these?
The way that you can tell on these guys is you see the left here. You want the I guess this portion. If you look at it, it'll read left to right, and you can see that this portion's higher towards the top. or you can just refer to the illustrations in your manual for a little bit easier description. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put in the kingpin, the taller kingpin, kingpin A, towards the top. There's a little channel in the top of the spindle, which you're going to want to get into the groove. So twist a little bit, you just use your finger and you can kind of manipulate it into place. All right, now kingpin nut for the bottom, the black one.
All right, so we got both of the kingpins in here. What do we do next?
Large bearing.
Okay, so we're gonna take this, go in the larger end, and just push it in.
Push it in.
No, I see.
You gotta use your big man strength.
And then small on the other side. Let me go ahead and take that, and that section's good. And then move on to the right.
That's right.
Larger kingpin goes in here, make sure it slides into the channel. And then the smaller one into the opposite channel. Make sure that it's lined up. You can use the tool for this. And then just push it in. Go ahead and do the larger one to secure the kingpins in place. And then the smaller one.
Good.
All right.
Now we got to install the drive assembly. You just slide it in there, making sure that the bearing in the front, sometimes the bearing in the front will try to push out on you, so just hold your hand here when you're sliding it in. There's that one, you give that one a try.
Cool. Cool. This one sits
Seats all the way in there. Both bearings stayed in place.
Yeah.
That's it. Here we are, block 11.
All right, we got these spindle carriers here. Now, where do we start with these guys?
Spindle carriers will, basically you could just check the top. You can see L for left. You got R for right. That'll indicate top and bottom as well. We also got kingpin nuts and we got our screws. So to start, let's start with the left.
Cool. So we're gonna go ahead and take this, but also get the spindle that we worked on the last previous blocks. But before we do anything, we're gonna go ahead and slide these kingpin nuts into here. Make sure that they're nice and flush.
So when you do this, you want to hold it kind of sideways, because when you slide the assembly in there, you don't want these bushings to come out. So
you go ahead and hold that, and I'll slide this one in.
Slide it in.
So as far as orientation goes, we want to make sure that the spindle, this little section right here that's kind of off-centered, we want to make sure that this one is facing the L, which is the top right here.
When you slide this piece in, you want to come kind of from the bottom here and slide it upwards evenly, like that. So hold that in place, and I'll get your screws with the Loctite. Ready? Blue Loctite. And guys, really important in this step, you wanna put just enough blue Loctite on here to get the job done, but don't oversaturate the screw. You'll have such a hard time getting this part off, and so this is a part that you want to be able to easily service. So go ahead and screw that bad boy in. There you go.
Same deal here. We're going to go ahead and Loctite it, as well as go ahead and prime it.
For as far as tightness here, don't go too tight. If you go too tight, you're gonna bind the assembly, and it's not gonna be able to spin freely. So go ahead and maybe just hand tight. Make sure that this part is flush inside of there. Maybe a little tighter, and that one will be completed. All right, let's see. You do the right side.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do the right side of this assembly right here.
Kingpin bushings.
Before we do it, kingpin bushings, yes sir. Put that in here. And then slide that one in here. We're going to make sure that it's indeed staying this way. And then the top of this assembly is on this side, so we're going to make sure that the according procedure takes place.
kind of come down at an angle.
And same deal, go ahead and thread lock and prime this one. And then go ahead and screw this in here, keeping in mind not to go too tight on it. We don't want to lock the assembly in place. We want it to be free-flowing. So once we have this screwed in and in place, we're gonna make sure that there's no binding and that it's rotating nicely. Getting into block number 12.
Parts we're gonna be using, we got gull-wing lower control arms for the front. We got some hinge pins, screws. We're gonna be using 2.0 T-wrench and just putting everything back together.
Let's go and start. Which one do you want to start on here? We have a left and a right.
Let's start with the left.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the correct orientation for the left. You want the shock mounting position pointing forward. You want this portion pointing backwards. Let's go ahead and get the left spindle assembly.
All right, we got the left spindle assembly here.
So it goes spin it, spin it, spin it. That's upside down. Sits down into this pocket here. And then what you're gonna do is you're going to take your hinge pin. You wanna put your hinge pin in the other way.
Gotcha. So from the top down?
There.
Slide
that in there. Now you're gonna use your primer on both sides. You're gonna use, this requires blue Loctite. Okay, so this one you're gonna have to use a 2.0 wrench on both sides in order to tighten it down properly. But just to start, you can get the threads going with the T-wrench.
So to properly screw these guys in here, once we have this first one threaded on here, we're gonna use another.
Snug this screw. If you over tighten it, you might strip it. Okay, now the right. I'm gonna make sure the R is facing away from you. And set the assembly down in, same as before. And then you slide this down in there like that. And your hinge pin goes through and your screw.
Cool, we got that in. We're gonna make sure that this is Loctite and primed before we go ahead and do this. And then same deal here, we're gonna go ahead and make sure that this is at least started down here. And then we're gonna go ahead and use our 2.5 drill to go ahead and make sure that the other section right here is hooked onto, and then we have the nice tighten on this side.
All right, guys, we're gonna be assembling the upper control arms. We have here some specialty tools, and then we have your everyday tools. We got our half-ton arbor press. We got your channel locks. We got a specialty ball tool from DDM, and we got your parts necessary.
All right, guys, for this one, Randy's going to show you how to press this ball in with this press right here.
All right, so take a look at how we got this set up. We're gonna slide part here. Nate's gonna drop the press down. The ball will easily slide into place. That's it.
Awesome.
All right, here we are with your everyday tool option. We got the channel locks, and what we're gonna do is we got this little piece of cardboard here so that we can protect the plastic rod end. Go ahead and just slide it under and get a good bite. You're gonna have to kind of maneuver it and work it around. Just give it a little push up and you're in. No damage. That's it. Okay, so here, guys, what we're doing is we're gonna pre-thread these upper portions, and the way that you can tell is the turnbuckle is right thread and left thread. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the right thread portion, and there's a little indicator here on the part where there's a little channel here. little extra material. That's going to be left thread, and the other side with the shorter is going to be right thread. What we're going to do is take and pre-thread this so it's easier to install. You want to go slow when you're installing here, because if you go too quickly or you're not patient, you can kind of go in an angle, and we want to make sure this thing's perfectly straight. So you see how I'm going real slow. I'm making the necessary threads, and then I'm going to back it out. Here we go, we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Nice and slow, even in there, and back it out. Now let's do the same thing on the other side, but we're gonna take this and we're gonna flip it over. And so here, the best practice is to grab one of your T-wrenches so that you can get a little bit of leverage. Can you hand me a T-wrench, please?
Yeah, sure. What size are we using?
Give me a 3. And slide that into the ball. And we're gonna do the same thing, pre-thread. Oh, we're going backwards on this one. This one we can leave, this guy we can leave in there. We don't have to back it off, so let's do the same thing on the other side. Remember, left thread, pay attention. And we're gonna essentially be almost like going backwards. Oh. Alright, now we're going to thread the remaining turnbuckle into the upper. You can do this portion by hand. You can just hold it since it's already pre-threaded, and it goes in really easily. So what we're going to do is we're going to get it all the way down there, and then once we're close enough here, we'll check the manual and we'll set the gap to 14 millimeters with our calipers. Okay guys, so as I'm tightening here, the other side may loosen up. So what we have is we have a hole in the middle so that we can adjust that. What you do is you take one tool, you slide it in to the turnbuckle, and then you take the other one and put it into the other side. And then what you can do is this will give you finer tuning adjustments, and you can tighten it, you can loosen it, whatever you need to do to get the 14 millimeter. So here we got that side, and then we'll flip it around. We'll get the other side tight. All right, so as per the manual, we're in a good spot to check our gap. What we're looking for is we're looking for 14 millimeter on the calipers. So we want to gap 14. So then what we do is we take the caliper and we try to slide it into the gap, the opening. Now, we're a little bit too tight here. You see it won't go in there. We're at 12.4, so we're gonna back one side off. I say this side's got is a little tighter than this side, so let's back this side off. Slide your tool into the opening and loosen. One turn should get us there. Let's check it. Oh, we need more. Just little turns at a time. We are 13.8. That's pretty close. Let's go ahead and leave it at that. All right, block 14.
So right here we have all of our previous parts that we worked on, and then the immediate last part that we worked on right here. We're going to notice that it has this bezel right here, and that there's a thicker end of this. We're going to want to position this towards the letter side of these right here. And then we're going to go ahead and pinch this little ball, and once we put it into here, we want to make sure that they don't move and they fit in nicely. So then once we have these positioned in here, we're gonna make sure that this screw goes down. We're not gonna have to thread lock this at all. We're just gonna slide it right on through. And then we have this retaining nut right here. There are two ways to put this on. There's gonna be a little lip on one end. We want that to go on the outside. So we're gonna put the one without the lip on first. We're gonna go ahead and fasten this and then go ahead and do further tightening with our wrench. All right, so once we have this on here, we're gonna go ahead and use a combination of the crescent wrench and the 2.5. So we're gonna go ahead and put this on one side, make sure we get an opposing force, and then go ahead and put this on here and tighten it.
Good, let's move right side.
So same deal, we're just gonna go ahead and do this on our right oriented parts.
Guys, you don't need thread lock here. There's a nylon insert that'll hold the screw in place. You want to do this? Guys, that's it. Bag B's done. Our control arm assembly is completed, and we're ready to move on.
All right, thanks for watching. If you want to stick around for our next tutorial, we're going to be building this and assembling it all together. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified of our next video. Thanks for watching.